need to find this place or we'll be late.
Make a left on Astrology Avenue. Oh, I'm sorry, I meant right. It should be right here. 444 Third Way. Oh, turn.
It looks like Renee. Yay, we're on time. The James and Kelly Show.
Great, let's start the show.
Oh, those were the days.
How weren't they though? When you get in the car and just go anywhere and
Anywhere. You could go have lunch with friends and we could just have such a good time. What happened to those days?
Changed.
Oh, dear God. I know. You know, it's so funny, James. We're supposed to go to a concert tomorrow, and I don't think we can go.
No.
I just don't trust these numbers.
Yeah, it's true.
You know?
Stuff like this. It's wild, wild west land.
It's wild, wild west. I mean, the things you used to do, now I don't know so much. Well, look, we have so many people, James. We've got some, I can't say your name, Slodanka from Melbourne. Hi there.
Kim J. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Jen. Hi, Kate.
Bradshaw from New Zealand. Hello there.
Oh, my gosh. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Claudia.
Kelly.
Wait, we're traditional?
We drove that car internationally around the world.
Oh, isn't that amazing? I think that's just so exciting, isn't it?
Positive attributes of an internet, of reaching people around the world, and these Zoom calls of teaching and being with all of our friends all over the world. It's one big community, which I think is just such the best part of the internet when it's used in positive ways. That you can reach everybody and everybody can be as one together, which is so great.
I just think that's so great. Konnichiwa, James and Kelly, which I love from Patricia.
Yes.
Hi there.
Oh, Judy Loveland, love it.
Oh my gosh, how great is this? So
Kelly, how have you been?
Well, since we talk every hour, I'll tell you this hour how I'm doing.
Well, it's interesting, everybody, because things change so quickly that it's Kelly's every other hour on the phone. Like, do you believe this? Do you believe that? Do you believe this? It's like things happen so quickly, and now good things happen, but things which are just so outrageously crazy. And it's like, is this real? Is this not happening?
Right. And so many people every day. I get a call or a text or an email saying, "What's going on? What is going on?" And I'm going to do an astrology report, but I just kind of want to preface this by saying, do you remember that old Seinfeld where the guy, he says, I was one of them, it says, I think it was Jason Alexander, and he said, "The seas were rough, my friend." And it reminds me of that kind of energy. If we think about being in the sea, in the middle of the ocean, and the energy is kind of intense. It's rough seas right now.
Actually, you've talked about this many, many months ago, because I have it in my documents here about what your astrology readings were. I write little notes.
Thank you. Thanks for keeping it.
And I know for the past 2 or 3 years, I mean, you've been so accurate as far as the aspects that you talked about and how things were going to change and this was going to be going on. And I always say, Kelly, gosh, Kelly, the Grim Reaper, whenever he does astrology, but she's actually being very good because there's some heavy duty aspects there.
Some heavy aspects.
And God bless you for keeping it honest. You have to. And it's
I just have to. I mean, I wish I could say, "Oh, it's going to be the greatest week." No, I can't. I just can't. But I can say a few things. I mean, I think astrology is important because it gives us a map. And what you said on your show today earlier, you said you were talking about the microcosm.
That people want to know what can we do to change the world? I want to do this, do that. It's like, well, first of all, you got to change the microcosm. So you can't be responsible for outside there. First, you got to be responsible for your inside here. This you can change. This you can control. Out there, you can't really control it, but you certainly can control your association, your relationship to it, but what's going on within you. So that you can control. And I believe that internally and the aspects of who we are and what we do will ripple effect to the outside world. And I know that to be true because here we are today talking about mediumship. And I was one of the first ones to begin this work, never thinking that would go worldwide, that we'd be open to mediumship 40 years later. But it shows you that things can be influenced. Things can change. Definitely.
Oh, you continue to be, but back in the day, you were a huge influence. You changed my life.
Well, it's an example of how, what we can do can affect many, many lives. Yeah. And even whether I have the media or not, it would get out there. Somehow, at some level, those things get out to people. So I think your intentions are clear. You can change the world, but first you got to change what's inside you. And like Kelly said, all of these tools that we have: astrology, numerology, intuition. There's so many different tools that are given to us to tune in, to be connected, if you will, to
Right.
who we are in the world around us. Yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, let's just talk a little bit about just this week. So I don't want to get too far ahead of everybody right now, but I thought I'll start with today is a really important day, actually, James. So today is July 11th, 2022, and today is the second exact Pluto return conjunction at Capricorn at 27 degrees. And what does that mean? The first one was February 22nd of the Pluto return that only happens every 246 years.
Right.
And so so today is the official day of the second of the Pluto return at the same degree. That's very intense because on February 22nd, 2 days later, there was the war with with Russia, and it was awful.
Ukraine, yeah.
Ukraine. And so today is the second of that. And so what does that bring? Well, Pluto brings up things. It brings civil unrest, particularly. It brings up a lot of fear. It brings up a lot of energy that to look at things. It has a lot to do also because it's in Capricorn with societal infrastructures and institutions and governments.
Kelly,
So,
you said Capra, you said Pluto. What about, I thought it was Jupiter?
well, no, Pluto's also in Capricorn, and we have
Pluto's also in Capricorn.
yeah. So this is a real big time of Capricorn, which is all about karma. Responsibility is huge with it. Yeah.
Jupiter Capricorn isn't too great because Jupiter's expansive planet. Right?
Jupiter's expansive, right?
Capricorn's going to be the opposite. Everything has to be in alignment.
Yeah. So it's a kind of I was going to say for the next several days, it probably is going to be pretty intense. But then on July 12th, which is tomorrow, Saturn actually goes retrograde. So when a planet goes retrograde, it goes back to bring us into things. It goes back in Capricorn. So again, Saturn in Capricorn, and Saturn is the planet of karma also. So and Capricorn represents all kinds of challenges here that we're going to have.
Learning.
It's all about learning. And this
Saturn.
Yep, it does, James. And so this stays retrograde until the end of October. So we're talking about like weeks and weeks and weeks of some intensity here.
So major learning, everybody. Major learning, whether it's, right. And remember that things have to happen in order for us to learn. So certain things appear hard and difficult and really disastrous. In some way, there's learning behind that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think
we're all major learning experiences. This aspect of major learning.
Major. And, I've been saying this all along, and I know everybody laughs when I say this, but we all did want to be here for this, great, interesting, fascinating time of growth.
It's growth.
How about that one?
It's growth.
It's growth. This is what we're here for.
We'll be squeezed to grow, but we're going to grow. We will be squeezed to grow.
That's the truth.
Out all the way and hold back, but we're going to grow anyway. So.
That's the truth. Okay, and then on July 13th, so Wednesday, we have a really rare spectacle, if you will, the supermoon, and we have it's the third supermoon of the year. We have actually 4 this year, and the 4th one is in August. But this is the biggest of the supermoon. So, and the supermoon occurs when the full moon is the closest to Earth. So it's a really big deal. And I don't know if you ever remember this fellow, James, but Richard Knoll was an old astrologer. Do you remember him from Dell?
I don't.
Okay, he was an old astrologer. He actually coined the term supermoon, which I thought was really interesting. And what he meant by it as an astrologer was that it caused geophysical stress. So there happened to be a supermoon during the big earthquake in Japan in 2011, where they had the tsunami. That was also a supermoon. Also, they had a major supermoon on February 9th, 1971, the San Fernando Valley earthquake, of which I just want to say I was there when that happened. So the supermoons are real powerful. It brings up a lot of intensity to all of us. It'll bring a lot of intensity.
What's it in, Kelly? What's the moon in?
It's in Capricorn.
Ah!
So all of this intensity with Capricorn, James, that it's big. It's a lot.
And Capricorn also rules structures, doesn't
yes,
it?
It's structures. Yes, it's government. It's a lot of things.
Might be some land upheavals too.
Absolutely. And this is also this full moon also, because it's not enough. It's not enough that it's a super moon, but it conjuncts Pluto, which means it's next to Pluto at the same degree. It's opposite Mercury, it trines Uranus, and it squares Chiron. What does that all mean in English? It means that watch being argumentative, watch wounded feelings, because when the full moon squares Chiron, Chiron's all about the wounded healer. So watch your emotions, because this is going to kind of pull us in all kinds of directions here, this full moon on Wednesday. Now, this is what it's asking us. So because it's in Capricorn, it says to us, what am I trying to achieve? So on Wednesday, during this full moon, you want to ask yourself, what is my goal in life? What am I trying to achieve? Because
I wrote down, what am I learning?
What am I learning? Okay. Because Capricorn actually also, James, represents the higher self here, which is the adult in all of us. So it's all about, what am I trying to achieve in life? What am I afraid of? Ask yourself while you're reflecting on this full moon, what am I afraid of?
Kelly, let me interrupt you quickly, because I just got inspiration.
Okay.
So to me, and I don't know where this came from, I had really got pulled out from years ago. So I was married to a Capricorn. Does Capricorn rule fear?
Yes.
Out of all the signs, I think
Yes.
Capricorn that rules fear.
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
And a lot of these fears are going to come up the next couple of days. A lot of emotional fears,
Yep.
a lot of sense of being alone, solitude, not fitting in, all that emotional. That's all going to be part of this, folks. So just be prepared. You've been warned.
You said that beautifully. Yes, absolutely. All of that. And so you want to ask yourself, again, what are you afraid of? And then why? This is a good question. Why am I afraid of it? Whatever it is. And then you want to ask yourself, what stands between my goal and and me? Where do I need to grow? How do I improve myself? Because the one thing about Capricorn and all this Capricorn energy, it is all about perseverance. So, and growth. It's really, this moon will, believe it or not, will help us accomplish our mission. If you really look at what's stopping you, and really this is the time to look at, because of this Pluto aspect, what are your self-sabotaging actions? Are you doing something to self-sabotage? So it is, I'll tell you what it's a great time for. It's a great time to meditate. It's a great time to take your crystals out. Now, I know everybody will always ask me about crystals. Take your crystals out now, because I'll tell you why. Your crystals need a good cleaning, frankly. They've had all this time with all the stress going on in everybody's life. Take your crystals out, put them outside. Even though the energy is, kind of intense, your crystals will really appreciate that you take them out and get them cleaned. And all you have to do is you could put them under running water, or sit them in a salt bath, or do nothing and just put them out in the moon and leave them out overnight. And I think that's just a great thing to do with crystals.
Yeah.
Because they're going to need their energy for the next 6 months.
It replenishes them too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's a generator. Think of them as generators.
Yes.
That's a good way of thinking. Also, Kelly, I just want to talk about fear. Talking about fear. Fear is an illusion. Fear is only of this human dimension. There is no fear in other places. So it's only a very human emotion. I don't call it a waste of human emotion, but it's an emotion that is really part of this three-dimensional world. So what are you afraid of is really from this human perspective.
Yes.
I want to make that very clear to people.
Yeah. And that's it. I mean, we'll talk next week. We'll go down another road next week, because as we get the last 2 weeks in July and the first week in August are very intense, actually. So take good care of yourself, everybody.
It's intense. These are rough waters. So
rough waters. Hold on. Get your jacket on. Yeah.
A friend of mine always said, put your seatbelt in for a bumpy ride. And my friend came to a party wearing a seatbelt.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good one.
And, by the way, everybody, Ken and I are speaking, but we also are aware of the comments that you're making. So we don't ignore them. We definitely see them, and we can't answer everybody, but we do see them for sure. So,
yeah, I know. Oh, and Betty Morris Scott, she says, fear's coming up a lot with me, and anxiety. A lot of people, Betty, I'm glad that you actually wrote that, and I appreciate that, because every day I deal with people that have depression and anxiety. And anxiety seems to be anxiety is about something that futurizing, thinking about the future. Now, when I give a roadmap in astrology, it's really just so you understand that things have gone wrong. Things will continue to go and do. But it's really for you to get a hold of yourself, so you don't have to futurize. You don't need to futurize what will happen to me or any of that. If you can, get real grounded. Get as grounded as you can, which is taking off your shoes, walking outside, looking in nature, being in nature, right, James? That's
Lying
a
down the
major
grass.
one.
What I'm going to be doing, lying in the grass, and Capricorn is a perfect Earth sign to do this.
Oh,
So you
it's
really get a lot more
right,
from because it's an Earth element. You get a lot more from
right.
the grounding, and also well, you mentioned Kelly futurizing. I like that. Today, my soul carrier talked about about the anxiety and fear. It's because they were not living in the moment. They're living in
Right.
the past or the future. When you live in the moment, the power of now, you have nothing to
Yeah.
fear because you're living in that moment, and it's all about
Yes.
experiences that we're having at this moment now. We're not the past and we're not the future. So just try to stay in the present moment because
Right.
present moment you can live a fulfilled life and really be part of life too, of your own life.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Scott Huff says, I do all my watering barefoot now. Great.
Oh,
It's a
good,
great
Scott.
idea.
Very good. I'm a Capricorn rising too, Gina. So I know it does. Yes, I do like Capricorn energy. It is a taskmaster. Get things done. So it's a good time to plan things out too.
But don't you think, James, because of your Capricorn rising, you were able to get so much done in this lifetime?
100%, 100%.
Right?
And the integrity levels there, the seriousness, the responsibility. It's all about responsibility.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's not a doubt. It's a taskmaster. It definitely, and it was also definitely some karma. So it really,
Yeah.
counts towards karma. And I came
Yeah.
back because I had to do this work, and I was karmically connected, obligated to do this work as well. But it
Right.
does keep you with integrity and responsibility for sure, and the seriousness nature. And I make it look very light sometimes, but that's the good thing because people get very heavy with death, as we know. And the secret here is to make it light because there is nothing to be afraid of. So
Yeah.
it's taking a subject matter which can be very hard for people and difficult, but making it light because we're all
Well,
going to
you
be.
know who is really great at that are comedians. They'll have some really rough lives. Their
Very
lives are sometimes so difficult, challenging, and they'll make it look almost effortless or fun or funny or something. It's interesting to me.
true. It's true. It's true.
Oh my gosh. Well, and we have quite a topic tonight.
Yes, we do, Kelly.
Yes, we do.
End of life choices.
And we came up with this one recently because people were asking us about how do souls feel when they've passed. How do they? And maybe it wasn't done the way that they wanted it done, or I don't know. I get those kind of questions a lot, James.
Yeah, so I would say, well, there's so much here to unpack, really,
Yeah.
because number one, there are certain souls who have it all planned out when they go, and this is what they want. They want this song at the ceremony. They want this to happen,
Yeah.
and then they pass. And I've had many experiences where they come back and say, "What was I thinking? I was such a waste. I didn't even care about what you did with me." That happens a lot. Every individual is different. Every personality is different. I've had other people come through and say, "Why were there no people at my funeral, my memorial service?" And the daughter said, "Well, Dad, you had Alzheimer's for many years, so a lot of people didn't remember or didn't know."
Right.
The all different reasons. And I have found just generally overall that the ceremonies, memorials, are really for the living, not for the dead. In some way, they could care less what we do with them left over.
Right.
Really
Right.
true. Even us who would think here in the human mind, what are you going to do with my body? What are you going to? I know I don't want to be in that dirt. I don't want to be in that kind. It's like you're not in the dirt.
Wait, James, I have a funny one on that one though. I had a boyfriend that died about 5 years ago. In fact, Don and I actually went to his funeral, and so he was buried. It was a Jewish funeral, and he was buried like the next day in a coffin, and he was buried in the ground. And what happened is he came that first night, the second night, and the third night to his sister, and he said to his sister, "I told you I don't want to be in a casket. I'm an environmentalist." He wanted his body thrown into the dirt. So after the third time, she called me and said, "What do I do?" I said, "I'd do it. I would just go in there." So they actually went in, exhumed him.
In the body.
They did, and threw him in there. I was like, "Are you happy now, buddy?" Isn't that a wild story? He was an environmentalist.
That's wild. So the mindset stays on. So there's
Yes.
a strong mindset, without a doubt, it will stay on.
Yeah.
Again, depending on the personality of the individual.
Yes.
I've had many times spirits come through and they'd say, why would I want to talk to you this? I didn't believe this in life. Why would I believe in it now? I mean, there's the same mindset. So it depends on the mindset somebody has. But I've had most people who are not interested when they get rid of this heavy body and this heavy coat. they could care less. And it's almost like they come back and they're observing it like a TV or a movie, and they're looking at it, it's like, wow, is that me? That's me. That's not me. That's just a body. I didn't even know that was me. Many times, a lot of people pass over, look back at their bodies, they didn't even recognize who that's them. The one story I got to tell you was really, really interesting. A boy that passes over, and he said, I was driving my car. He was getting ready for a date with this girl, and he was really looking forward to it. He got his best clothes. He was driving, and next thing you know, he has this dream or this feeling of he's looking down at this crash and this collision, and it's like, what's going on here? And he didn't know what happened. And he said that poor guy, and that he thought he was in the car looking at a crash that occurred, and not realizing it was him, because
Oh,
that's me. That's the kind of clothes I was wearing. But that can't be me. I'm fine. I'm fine.
oh
And then
gosh.
his grandfather from the spirit world came to get him, to show him that indeed it was him, and
Oh,
that he left his body. So we leave our body like that. There's no big.
yes.
We just leave our body. It's a very natural occurrence.
And
So
can you talk a little bit about when somebody passes, no matter if it's an accident or if it's whatever it happens to
sure.
be, that a
I
loved one comes and gets them 6 to 8 weeks in
Right.
advance?
So Earth time, I mean, we could say
Yeah,
it's 68 weeks, but there's a calling, called a calling, that goes off the spirit lands,
yeah.
spirit worlds, spirit realms. That there is we're never alone, and we're never walk alone. We're always with spirit, always with our loved ones, and they are ready for us to come home. There's a reunion. It's a great party, a reunion of sorts, that they look forward to our coming back home. So no one ever dies alone. I don't believe in accidents. I believe as a human, it might appear as an accident and something spontaneously happens. But I think in the spirit world, they're very, very aware of these things that will occur to that soul. And a soul is never threatened. Your soul's always with someone. There's always caretakers looking out for you, always. Kelly recently just had an experience that happened in a restaurant. Was it last week you
It
went
was
to?
last week. Yeah,
How
I
was
was
that
having. It
experience?
was pretty awful, actually. I was having dinner with my assistant and with my niece, and we were having a lovely dinner. Although the weirdest thing was the energy that whole day felt off. I couldn't really pinpoint it, but as we were having dinner, a man behind me um, choked to death, actually, and died in front of us. And it was very traumatic. I called you, trying to get myself back in my body because it was so
I
traumatic.
would fear that just happened spontaneously,
Right.
but the physical act might have been that way. But I guarantee you, there's been planning for that for many, many. I
And
mean,
of all the people that could be there, I mean, I did hold a space for prayer, and so did Carissa, and so did my niece Mary. I mean, we all were literally praying, and it was a real sacred moment, is what
and
ended
a
up
fast
happening.
exit, by the way, fast exit. That's a good exit. It's fast, quick, out.
It was fast, yeah.
I mean, I've had so many spirits come out, and when they come back and they say, "Oh, I didn't realize I passed." I look down the chair, and there I was, slung dead. So that can't be me. And it was me. I just died of a heart attack. Didn't even realize I died of a heart attack. I felt like I'd gone into a dream. It was nothing. It was nothing. Nothing hurts. There's no pain at all. And it's true. Everyone's really, there's no pain in death. What is painful? What is painful? This is interesting. Are the mental thoughts of loved ones left behind, who fight over estates, who argue, who don't get
Yes.
along. That's painful because they hear those thoughts they amplify. The thoughts are amplified. They don't like that when you don't get along. They don't like that when people argue over their bodies and over their
Oh,
estates.
it's so awful for them.
It's such
Yeah.
disrespect, and it doesn't help with that transition. It does not
Right.
help with that transition. They hear everything. They know everything. They hear us 10, 20, 30 times over all of our thoughts. So people say, "Oh, can you tell them I love them?" They hear your thoughts. You don't have to go to a medium to know that
Right.
for them, you can hear them because
Absolutely.
very clearly. It's very important everyone knows that.
Well, so do you think it's really important because things can happen just like that? Do you think it's extremely important to plan or tell your loved ones what your wishes are in the event that something happened quickly?
Excuse me, you're talking to a Capricorn Rising. So here's my end of life,
Okay, I love it. Thank you.
my advanced healthcare directive right in front of me.
Perfect.
No, a Capricorn Rising, gonna have it
Right.
organized. I think it's great to have that for anybody. I really, really do, because I think you never know in the physical
Right.
life, what's going to happen. I mean, every day could be the last day. So I believe in having things organized and taken care of. I walk around my house thinking, okay, what do I got to get rid of? So tomorrow is my last day of life. Where would I want this to go and that to go and that to go? But I've always been like that. I've always been kind of like that.
Interesting.
That everything is temporary. Everything. These possessions are just these physical attachments. They don't really mean anything. So it's
So,
just for the moment. And
absolutely.
yeah.
But so then people should at least tell their loved ones, I want to be buried. I want to be cremated.
You should
I
write it down, Kelly.
write it down. Everybody should be write it down. I do not want
Lawyer.
to a DNR, do not resuscitate. I do want that. Whatever your wishes are, not that you would get them, but you might.
And sometimes many of the humans in the family, at the end of the life of someone who's passing or dying, and the person in the human world thinks, oh my God, I can't let them go like this. Oh, they can't go like this. Well, so that person, you should really write down what you want, because
Right.
many times I've known the souls kind of suffer, linger in this physical body when they're not meant to, because the loved ones force them back in, or they get the medical people that force them back in, and they'd rather be out of the body. I mean, they don't want to be here. I've seen that. Oh, I used to work in a hospital for 5 years. I worked on intensive care and
Oh, wow. So you would have seen that.
I've seen it over and over again.
Wow.
Before he was doing mediumship work, I worked in a hospital, and
Wow.
I've seen it. Yeah, I think we have to be very, very careful as far as what your wishes are, and let people know your wishes, because you can't leave the people left over when you're dying, because they'll be emotionally.
Well, and that's the problem. They get real emotional, and then they don't read it. I'll tell you, I have a good friend who lost his sister, and his sister wanted to be cremated, but he didn't know that, so he buried her. So he said to me, is she okay with that? Because they found out 10 years later on one of her notes, that's what she wanted. I said, she's fine with it. I mean, but at the time it would have been nice, but you get so emotional during these times, you can't think straight. I also had a girlfriend who passed in a car accident when she was 27, one of my dearest friends, and I was just devastated. But what happened is the family was so upset that she died, they put her in the wrong. She was Jewish, and they put her in the Catholic cemetery. And I don't know how that happened, but I'll never forget. Years later, I had a dream about her, and she said, "It's okay, I forgive him. I don't care."
It's like here, this Bernadette Braden Elliott says, does a departed know when the family finds out that they betrayed family that was left behind, that they lied to family? Yeah, I assume, Bernadette, you're talking about the people that have passed over. They're very aware of what their discretions. They're very aware of what they've done, what they haven't done, and they feel bad of things they've done. Remember that this is our school down here. We're all learning. No one's better than anybody else. We're all learning. So do they mean to betray the family? Who knows? Kelly talks about people being limited. Certain souls are limited. They're unaware of certain things. A lot of times we talk about people that are sleepwalking in this lifetime, that they're very unaware of other people's feelings and emotions. So the best thing we can do is forgive them. Take the higher road and forgive them and by your sense of forgiveness, maybe that'll open them up. That sense of, wow, they really see the bigger picture. They've forgiven me. I can forgive myself now. So it means a lot.
Oh, forgiveness is everything.
Forgiveness is everything.
And it's really hard in the human, especially if you've been betrayed, and especially when it comes to a loved one who dies and there's money and it goes to this one instead of that one. It's something I work with probably on a daily basis with families. If you can get that straightened out, but most people can't, because so many families are so disjointed and
dysfunctional. I mean,
dysfunctional.
I mean, how many families members don't talk to each other? My father wouldn't speak to his sister or brother for years, and it was like, what's going on? So yeah, it's an interesting one, because it doesn't mean much in the spirit sense of the word. It's like, try to forgive, no matter if they've done you bad. I mean, I've had that experience in this lifetime. You got to take the higher road. I mean, that's the best. If you want the best that possibly could be, then you have to live that. You have to be an example of that to others, including family.
Absolutely. Donna Hannon says, does someone who's passed away, realize that they are loved after they pass? Sometimes in life, people don't know how loved they are, or they are unable to accept the love that comes that way.
Yeah. So yes, I'm sorry. Was the question, does the soul realize how much they're loved?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I have a really quick story about, I might have told this years ago, I don't remember, but a woman went to the other side, and it was her partner, or I think it was a boyfriend for many years, and he died first. She was left on the earth 20, 30 years, and life changed, and there was always a strong bond of love. And we met her on the other side. He brought her to a cottage, let's say a cottage setting, and he brought her in the yard, and he showed her this beautiful flowering bush, beautiful shrub, and it started growing like Jack and the Beanstalk, and it got higher and higher, and more flowers came out, and all these beautiful colors, and it got higher, higher. It was high as you could see, and he goes, "This represents the love that I've had for you all these years."
Oh, so sweet.
That happens when you pass over. You feel the love, you see the love, and you have a sense of, I guess objectivity. You can see that you are a soul. You see the lessons that you've learned, that you maybe things you've been holding on to from the human aspect, and things you had what you didn't learn. Maybe you could learn better next time. It's all about unconditional love. There's so much love. Wouldn't it be great to have that love here while we're still walking in the human body, instead of waiting until we pass out of the body? I mean, just think about the love that you could change lives
Ah,
down here.
boy, is that the truth. Leah Scott has a good question. Oh, okay. Go ahead. Oh, Renee. Okay. There is an incredible site called Five Wishes, and it's got an official document for $5 that helps families document end of life wishes. I've used it many times.
That's great, Renee.
Renee, thank you, honey. We'll definitely check that out for $5. That's amazing. Five wishes. Wow. Thanks, honey. So
Thank you.
Leah Scott says, my dad wanted his ashes spread in a place that I just can't get to. He's here with me currently, and I'm not sure now what to do. I get that a lot, James, from people.
What do you say, Kelly, about that?
I think that the soul is fine with wherever you want to put it.
Yeah.
Wherever. You don't need to keep it in your closet. If you want to just put it out under a tree, or I think that they're fine with that. James, what do you think?
I think that they're fine. And another question from Elizabeth about cremation or being buried. So there's another situation.
Okay.
The spirit, from my experience of many 40 years doing this work, I've never had a spirit say, "Oh, I really wanted that to be done with my body. I should have done that." I really haven't had much of that. It could be a temporary cemetery, but I've also said they really don't care. There's a sense of let's discard it. It's like an old piece of trash. They really don't.
Yes.
It's more the people left behind that I think it's important too. I have my experience. They haven't cared about tombstones or buried cremation. It's a really thing for the human. For me personally, I've heard that cremation is the quickest way, the best way, because the magnetic ties that we have attached to this human earth
I've heard that too. Mhm.
are over. And being buried in that is very interesting, in the coffin. And in the Catholic Church, they put candles at both ends, they used to. And that comes from very esoteric studies years ago, or teachings, that the spirit would not enter the body through the head or the feet. And that's why they put the candles there, to light that up, so to show them that they should not come in that way. That's where that comes from. And there's a lot of esoteric teachings about letting go of the binds, the binding, that binds us this word. I think cremation is the easiest way to open up and let go.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, that's just such a big one.
It's a big. It's for the living, not for the dead. Remember, the
Right.
burial, the memorials. They're for the living, not for the dead. They know that they've done what they've done. They know the impact they made on this earth, and by all means, for the living, have memorial services, have funerals. That's great. But I remember that my mom that passed away, and she was very Catholic, and she wanted a mass. I remember that, and it was really funny at her wake, because there was a wake there. It was the second night of her wake, and she looked around. She was right next to me, and she looked around. She goes, "I don't all this fuss for me. I didn't really want to. So I feel embarrassed of all this fuss. I shouldn't have really wanted."
Oh my gosh, I feel embarrassed by it. How
All these people out.
interesting.
And all these people out. Say big fuss about me. I didn't deserve this fuss. I shouldn't have put people out.
Oh my gosh.
And
I've actually heard clients on the other side say to me, I don't want a memorial.
yeah,
So it's kind of what you just said.
yeah, and that's up to everybody's choice. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody has a choice of what they'd like. And
Oh, this is a great question. Patricia Aldana says, do they care if they aren't visited often in their resting places, like a cemetery?
well, they're not there.
They're not there. Yeah, they don't.
You get more with their thoughts, of sitting down quietly, contemplation, and talking to them that way in your room than you would looking at the ground. They're not in the ground. Think about it. They're not in the ground.
Right.
They're outside the ground, so they're not there. I once had a young man come through to his mother in an audience. He said, "Mom, why do you go on Wednesdays and stare at the ground? Do you realize I'm not in the ground? How could you be speaking to a piece of grass? I'm not
Right.
there." And he would say over and over again. It was really interesting. Our perspective, it's so fascinating. Now, I just heard one of my guides say to me, "You must tell them also, though, it's a ritual. That's a ritualistic for the human beings.
Ah,
A ritual
okay.
of the end of life for a ceremony. So that is indeed
Right.
proper for certain." Okay, they say proper for certain people, certain peoples that have to have that human touch, and that the ritual has to take place and be completed. But do not despair, because your spirit loved one is safe here.
Oh, I love that. Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Diane Laws Rodriguez says, is it really true that we go through a life review? Oh, you
Yes.
betcha.
You bet we do. Yeah,
Yeah.
we go through a life review. Again, every single a passage. I'll say passage because we're talking about sea tonight. Passage, and that's the best way of saying it. When you say passage, I say passage. Is different for each person or each personality. Someone who's very spiritually evolved or very aware has a very different experience than someone who's not at all believing in any of this. So it's all different. So the life review happens to everybody. That it's very funny. It was last night. It actually happened to watch some NDEs, near-death experiences, were on the television, and I was watching them because I remember Betty Eadie, Embraced by the Light.
Oh, I loved her. Yeah.
I was on shows with Betty, and there were several other people, and it's Victor Zamet, and the lawyer for the afterlife.
Australia.
Yeah, he talks a lot about NDEs. He sends out a weekly newsletter, and he has every week there's about NDEs, near-death experiences. And many people will say the life review happens right then when they're looking at the light, or they after their funeral service. Everyone will, if there's a funeral service, many times they will go and visit the funeral service. The women seem to be aware of who's around, what they're wearing, and the men seem to be involved with how much is spent on the burial or the funeral. It's very interesting. Isn't that fascinating?
Really?
I learned that from Marianne Winkowski when I did the Ghost Whisperer. She was our consultant for earthbound spirits. And she would often say that. She'd say, well, the women that she worked with these earthbound beings, people who just pass. And I found it fascinating with her because she said there are certain souls who have a hard time going right away into the light. I'm like, really, why would that be? And this is what Ghost Whisperer was based upon. She said, well, think about it. It's the belief system that they have. So if someone, and I swear to God, Kelly, we're sitting in a restaurant, having dinner, and she said, for instance, you see there's a man sitting on the staircase over there. I said, well, I see the staircase. I don't see the man. She goes, oh yeah, there's a man over there. I don't want him to see me, but she said he has a hard time passing over, and she's just kind of tuning in with him because he was raised very religiously, and I think he was gay or something happened, and he was afraid to pass into the light because he was also really raised very religiously, and he was afraid that he would burn into hell if he went into
Oh my gosh, can you imagine?
that whole mindset is there as
Oh.
well. And the Ghost Whisperer was based upon those souls who have the belief system. The percentages are lower than most as far as that goes, but there is a mindset that people have when they pass out of the body.
Wow. So would you say that for a loved one to talk to, if they had a father or a mother that had a mindset like that, or a family or a friend, that if they could talk to them about it?
The best thing you can do is before they pass, maybe years before. And I did this with my dad, by the way. I did it with my father, and it helped him because he didn't believe in life after death. He didn't believe the work I was doing. He didn't believe any of it. He just didn't believe any of it. And I'd say to him, Dad, continue watching the shows. I did The Other Side, the TV show The Other Side then, and I did my Beyond show. And he would watch from his bed. He would watch, and I dropped little hints every once in a while, little nuggets, I guess, of life after death. What do you think, Dad? And just asking questions, but just to think about it, to open them up. Do you think it's a possibility? I think it's important that everybody kind of maybe split the seeds in, plant those seeds. And after he passed out of his body, right away, he came back and he said, you got it right, James. I'm alive. Oh my God, you're right. I'm alive. I'm alive. I see a sister I didn't know I had. And we found he had a sister. So if you can just put the seeds there and spread the seed with the awareness, just putting that kernel of awareness, of knowledge there, just place it there for them, that they can hold on to that when they leave the body. That's a good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That little seed would help them.
Will really, really help them. That'll be as is the oxygen mask.
Yeah. Right. Now, here's a good question, and this is from Dana Hannon again. There is someone that I love dearly. We did not get a chance to say goodbye. So I look for him. I miss him, and I look for signs of his presence. After he passed, I pulled up a van with his TV show. I'm not sure what that means. But when we don't get a chance to say goodbye to somebody when they pass.
Yeah, so I've often said to people what you can do. They're right around you. They share the space around us. So I often have people write a letter to them. Yeah. Write a letter to your loved ones.
Great one.
And write a letter to them, and then I have people fold it up, maybe put an envelope, write their name on it, put it in a drawer somewhere. But on your calendar, write down like a week later a date for you to have a talk with them. So that put it down your calendar. Then when that time comes up, you sit down with a pad, and now they're going to write through you a message from them to you, and just begin to start writing and don't even think of it. And it works every time. Every single time. They're just a thought away.
They're just a thought away.
They share the space around us.
And I think, and while people are alive, I mean, really tell your loved ones how much you love them if you do. Really tell them how much you love them. Tell them how good what kind of relationship you guys have had, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. But really, I'd have some deep conversations with people.
And forgive them.
And forgive them. Yeah. And forgive yourself too.
forgive them for yourself, because you don't want that when they cross over. You don't want to hold on to all that stuff
Right.
in the human, in the aspects of being alive. You don't want that. You don't want that to carry over. Same thing with everything's more intense when you leave the body, because here's a physical world, there it's a mental world. So everything's more intense, and you feel things more, you think of things more. So that's why they say, we should handle our addictions down here, our
Right.
guilt, our everything,
Right.
everything down. We should let go of them down here. Don't be shackled with that
Right.
when you pass away,
Right.
because your mind will be shackled if you don't take care of these things right here. So let go and forgive, and
Right.
don't make little things that important.
Well, and the other thing is, if you open up a dialogue with somebody, let's say you haven't even talked to them for a long time or whatever, and you start opening a dialogue about thanking them for being in your life or anything like that, what happens is then you might go into, if you were to pass, what would you want? Just to open the door for that, what would you want? And some people don't want to talk about it. My own mother, she just couldn't talk about it. It drove me nuts. But if you could just even open a door and say, what do you think? What would be the possibilities? What would you like? I guarantee something. You'll learn a lot about the person, because they might open up in a way that you would have never imagined before. So it's the kind of thing that when somebody passes, you'll remember, oh, I had this conversation with them. This is what they wanted.
And it's important, Kelly, that when you're speaking to that person, you speak to them on the level that they understand it. You speak
Yeah.
their speak. So when you're considering
Yes.
somebody like your mother, like someone who's a control freak, mom was a control freak. So we have someone controlling that, control their space. They don't want to talk about it. Say, well, what do you think is there if their life after death? What do you think? What can you imagine?
That's it. That's a great question. What do you think? Yeah.
And that way you can give them the permission to open up about it on their terms, especially with some of the control people, and give them permission to think about it and express themselves. And that's an open dialogue. That begins the open dialogue.
Absolutely. This is a great question. This is from Christy Oucher. Hi, Christy. She says, can you be a burden to your loved ones who have passed? I talk to my daughter so much. So her daughter passed fairly recently. And she's a wonderful, wonderful mother, and her daughter's incredible, who's passed. But she said, is it possible, I guess, to be a burden?
Well, I don't know if burden is the right word. I just think I always present it to people and saying, well, so remember that they hear all of our thoughts 10 times, 20 times, 30 times stronger. So I often say, if we have like a dinner date and we're getting ready for a dinner date, and we get, showered and cleaned up and putting the clothes out, and the phone keeps on ringing. And you can't go get ready for your date because you got to go answer the phone every 5 minutes. Think of it like that. They hear our thoughts all the time. So, holding them back from doing whatever, they love you and they will, but it also holds us back from doing our own thing. And really, we have to live. They're not dead. They're not dead. But I believe you can have an open conversation with them all the time. But also remember, if you're so obsessed with that side and what's going on over there, you're not present in what's going on here, and you have to go through your lessons down here. You can't cut school. You got to go through your classes.
Yeah, you can't cut school with this.
But you got to know they know you love them, and they know that you love them. And who knows, in this lifetime, when you lose, let's say, a child or a loved one, how do we know it's not karmic, Kelly? That in another lifetime you left early, and they don't find out what it's like, and you have to leave.
I think about that a lot when this has happened.
Learning from both ends, both sides of the coin.
Right. Well, and James, I know you have a mediumship coming up, talking about helping people.
I do. I join once every 3 years. I do Mediumship 1 course, and the Mediumship 1 course is coming up. There it is, right there, and it's coming up right now. In 2 days, Wednesday, I'm going to do a hands-on workshop for 2 hours, and it's a wonderful course for Mediumship 1 for people who don't necessarily want to be mediums, but be open to that energy, be open to the techniques of being mediumistic. So, if you go to the JVP School of Mystical Arts, you can register for that and register for the workshop if you like to.
It's a great time to be doing something like that right now. But even Mediumship 1, really what it does is it opens you up to helping others on levels that you may not even be aware of it.
And interplane levels as well.
Yeah.
Not physical, but those mental levels, those other realms, and be mindful of the guides, the people that help you out. Not necessarily you have to perfect communication, but there'll be levels that you'll reach, because you're a soul and they're a soul. You're a soul in the body, they're a soul outside the body. But there's no reason why we can't connect soul to soul. And that's what the course is about, is connecting soul to soul.
Yes. Oh my God. I love that.
So thank you. I forgot about that. That Wednesday night is a 2-hour.
Well, it's an important time because it's that full moon on Wednesday.
It's a super moon on Wednesday.
Moon. So it's going to be a really perfect day to do that. Perfect day to do that.
Kelly, you're right. You're
Oh
right.
my gosh.
You're
I think
right.
it's going to be
Well,
perfect.
it's
Oh, and then
definitely-
this Friday, you're doing messages.
and it's Friday. I'm doing. That's right.
You got
I'm
a
doing.
busy week.
I have a very busy week. I don't stop. It's a VIP evening of spirit messages from July 15th. That's right, 5:30, and I do many, many messages, and they've been pretty incredible. And again, because of the supermoon, all this Capricorn energy, boy,
Oh.
those messages are going to be like.
They're going to be, it's going to be
I
amazing.
think there's some tickets still available. I think there is. So please go
Oh
to
my God.
getvanprog.com and sign up. It's a great night. I mean, we continue doing it because people just love it, and I love it. I learned so much.
It's so much fun to watch. It's so much fun. And everybody gets a message.
Everybody pretty much gets
mean-
the message. Mostly everybody. Yeah, I think mostly everybody. I mean, 20. I don't know how many, but a lot. It's really everybody learns from each other. It's incredible. We learn. I learn every time. It's and there are some great communicators, and there are others that are okay. But you learn about what I think is one of the most interesting things. Is you learn about the conditions on the other side too, the conditions they found themselves in, and what they're going to share with their loved one here. And the people on the earth who think this is so important, the loved ones move on away from that and go back to old memories when they were younger. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's a nice, interesting evening. So
Oh
it's
gosh.
Friday. Yeah,
That's going to be great. Oh my gosh. And yes, that's done on Zoom.
it's done on.
If it was done
It's
on
done on
Zoom.
Zoom. Yep, vanprog.com.
Yes.
You can register for both those. Yeah. Well, the school is JVP School of Mystical Arts. That's Mediumship 1. That's where you go to register for that. And the VIP is vanprog.com.
Oh, and it's the VIP one.
It's a VIP one, so not as many
Okay.
people. It's a limited amount of people. That's what I'm wondering.
Oh.
I think we still have some tickets available, but it's limited
Oh
because
my
I do a
gosh.
lot of messages. I mean, most people get something. So
Right. Oh my gosh. And this is a good question. Penny Laray, I think if I say that right, she says, can a loved one on the other side bring two people together here on Earth? Oh, you betcha.
you bet. All
Yeah.
the time they do it. They work really hard doing that, but they do. They do that. They do that a lot. They work very hard on the other side. They don't let things pass. They're not idling over there. They work really, really hard. And things that occur here, we call it synchronistic. You know how hard they've been working on the other side to make that happen. Quite a bit.
So true. So true. And Lorianne Sabah says, do dreams of loved ones, do they come in dreams? Yes, our loved ones come in dreams. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
number
great
one
place for them.
communication is the dream state, because we're not in necessarily this physical body. We're kind of out of the body, and we're more open to that level of consciousness.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so true. Renee Hunt said, my first time attending a Both Sides Now and Beyond session. Love you both. What a great way to end my workday and transition to my evening. Well, thanks, Rena.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Please come again. We really enjoy having you. It's a great community we have here.
Oh my
And it
God.
grows every week with people
Yeah,
like you.
please join us. Oh my gosh. Kathy Cade says, love is love, grief is grief. You are doing the best you can. We have my daughter's ashes from 20 years ago. I'm ready to let go, but want to release with her sister's ashes that her estranged husband has. Oh, well, it will work out. Yeah, that's kind of that gets a little complicated.
I mean, the intention is there, but don't let it play
Yeah.
out. Let it play out. Don't get caught up in it. I
Yeah.
wrote a book called Healing Grief many years. My third book. It's a really great book. It's such a great book, an important book, that I'm doing an online course, and it's going to be like several phone calls, Zoom calls, the next month, actually starting it. But I'll be telling people about it. But that's really a great. I mean, grief is one of the most incredible lessons that we have here, but there are all different types of grief. And we're going to discuss that in the upcoming phone call. So it's a healing grief. And for people that are concerned about loved ones who passed over, conditions they passed over, or things you didn't do for them, and having no should-haves, would-haves, or could-haves, it's an important course.
James, that's going to be so important. I'm really looking forward to that course because
and it's really important.
oh my God, it's so important. Lynn Falk says, can we communicate with loved ones in a dream? Yeah, while we're still both living. Yeah, absolutely.
You can. So, I always say that 70% of the soul is out of the body, only 30% is here. So why can't you be out there communicating? Thoughts communicate. Thought is communication. So you can communicate with loved ones, living people all the time. Kelly and I do it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Kelly. I was just thinking about you. I mean, we go back.
I'm so glad you just called.
Yeah. Happens all day.
It really does. Oh my God. So Tracy Hildreth says, hi, Tracy. She says, thank you for discussing this topic. Great reminders to ask the tough questions and share your wants if you have them with your loved ones. That's the truth. It's not the package in the end that's important. It's the shipping.
The shipping. I love that.
Tracy.
That's great,
That's a good one.
Tracy. The shipping. I love that.
Remember when my sister said about the body? She said it's like an old suitcase. You just
It's very true. Very profound.
just drop it off and
Donna Hannon says, can you talk about pets? I had a dog for 20 years who passed 9/30/20. I'm very sorry to hear that, Donna. I know I lost my daughter in January, and she came back right away. I mean, within 10 minutes, she came back in my lap. And she was so happy. I can't even tell you how happy she was that I let her go, that I released her. I released her. And that was the word, released her. And she's been a part of my life every day, even more so. And I know she's really busy out there in the other realms. I know she's very busy. She's taking care of families and with kids. I know that. So several people, I don't know if I told you this, Kelly, but several people I found out, maybe.
No, I told you.
You told me that, but the girl in the hospital?
Okay. Now I have 3 different people. Their dog's name are Maisie. 3 separate. All 3 different types of dogs. I was like, what? How could that be? Yeah. No, Maisie's busy.
Maisie's busy. She was helping a little girl in a hospital once, and the girl came up out of her coma and she said, I saw Maisie. I saw a dog named Maisie. And she described her. Yeah, it happens a lot. So animals continue living on, and boy, we learn so much from them. And their love never dies, sweetheart. So don't do that human thing.
Right.
Humans can be very limiting in their thought process. And we have the show to go beyond that.
Oh my God, that's so true. Oh, please, it's so true, James. I love that. Kim Ann has to ask. She says, how are the puppies?
The puppies, thanks, Kim Ann, for asking. So the puppies are in boarding school right now in Ramona, California. It's a lovely couple to have them. And I just visited them on Saturday, and they are wonderful. They're twice the size they were as puppies. They're like enormous. So I'm wondering how I'm going to get them back home because they won't fit in the crate anymore. Oh. So they're doing really well. And I was working with them with commands, and they learn about sit and heal, and they learn about let go, and they know about get down and come and stay. They know all that. So I'll enforce that when they get here. But they're beautiful. They're Australian Shepherds, and they just love this. They just love. And I'm just enjoying the next couple of weeks off because once they get here, my life is topsy-turvy. So listen.
Oh my God. It's going to be something else. Oh my God. Okay. Heat chilled off sun. What is the silver thread that is attached to the soul? I don't want it cut from my son who passed, but does it something him from going to the light? Maybe prevent him from going to the light? I did not know. I'm really sad.
So silver cord, it's called the silver cord, and the silver cord, and there actually you should read about the silver cord. You can online. White Eagle is a wonderful guide. White Eagle and silver cord, but the silver cord is a thread, if you will, that seems to connect, and this goes back to esoteric studies and theosophy, the soul body to the physical body, and they say that silver cord is when someone is dying, it wears down that silver cord, and at the time of physical death, the silver cord is severed, so the soul is kind of severed from the body. And you could think of it as a tether, or like spacewalks. Remember in the 60s there were spacewalks, and they had a cord that connected. Same type of thing. So at the soul, it seems that the soul is we can travel with the soul when we're in this physical body, and we can. Many times people have talked about out-of-body experiences, and I've seen the silver cord. I've seen it, the shimmering.
I've seen it too. Yeah. And
when at that time of death, that cord is severed and they're released. So your son, who has passed over, already because the sun has passed over, the silver cord's already gone. It's detached already. So you can't keep him that. What you want to do, sweetheart, is just be mindful of him coming to you in thoughts of love. Don't hold him back, because you want him to be free and be expansive and be part of your everyday life. And that's what he would like. So you got to open that up and just expect and really just appreciate that love from him, from the higher realms of being. Don't hold him back on this physical earth. It's not too great. It's like wearing an old pair of shoes that that are worn out. Don't do that.
Oh,
it's the love that he feels from you. That's what love. They always feel I love.
I always, believe that we hold other souls up by our constant,
Kelly, let me just go to Fellini. I think this is pretty funny here.
Okay.
There's a great misconception that many think that you are born with mediumship gifts, when in fact everyone is born with the capacity. Oh, thank you, Renee. Capability, but for some, this is not a reality, and others develop according to interest and our curiosity. Mostly learn to discern, because more and more it is people who are open to the experience are less doubtful. Fellini. Parts of that I understand, parts I don't. I think everybody, because we're a soul, they're a soul, there'd be no reason why you cannot contact or connect with this another soul. Now, to the level of discernment or the level of skill, you have to develop it. So I often say that everybody's born with the ability to play the piano, but not everybody's a concert pianist. So it depends upon what your makeup is, your spiritual makeup, your understanding, as you say, the amount of development you're willing to do. So it's all that. But everybody can hear from the spirit world. There's no reason why you couldn't. Every soul to soul, nothing. It's the human mind that gets in the way. See.
Oh my gosh.
Kelly, what were you saying? I'm sorry. You were talking about.
I love what you just said. What was I saying? I don't
We
remember.
hold people back on the other side.
Yeah, what happens is for me, I remember my mom and I had this deep conversation once about that. Um, when you hold on to the person here who's passed over, you're constantly holding on so much. It kind of holds them back on the other side a bit, don't you think?
Just like I spoke about with the
Yeah.
date and the phone call. So we always
Yes.
you can't move on because you can be interrupted,
Yeah.
interrupted, interrupted.
I mean, and I'm not saying, after a loved one just dies, that, oh, I better leave them alone. It's not exactly like that. But after a certain amount of time,
Yeah, but the
uh,
truth is that we never lose them. They're
we
always
never
around.
lose
It's
them.
the human part of our mind that
Right.
wants to control it and keep them there. When the best thing we can do is let them release them because they're free to be with us, and they will because
Yeah.
love attracts each other. That loving energy will never die. So
Right.
that's the misconception. We think, and you got to think of them in order to be here. No, it's not true. Quite the
Mm,
opposite. The more you surrender and let them go, the easier it is for them to be close to you.
so true. Liz Langenfield, how do spirits manage time on the other side? I
There's no,
know they have responsibilities.
there is no such thing as
That's,
time, first of
that's
all.
right. So they don't have to manage the damn thing.
So yeah, they have jobs over there. They have things they do. They
Yeah.
have many times their souls want to have interests that they want to pursue. Let's say they've always wanted to learn how to play the piano, but they never had that opportunity down here. Over there, they're able to do that. So things you earn, I believe in this human life and the spirit life, you earn things. You really do earn things by what you put into it and how you do things and you draw them to you. And the spirit world, if you didn't go to university here, you can explore that. My friend my friend Olivia, who passed over,
Right.
she died, and we hung out all the time in spiritual workshops and development circles and mediumship and healing. And really, we had an agreement that when the first one passes over, we'll come back and tell each other. And she did when she first passed over, but that was over 3 years ago, and she hasn't been back since. And finally, like 3 weeks ago, I talked to her. I shouted, "Olivia, where are you? Why don't you come into my mind?" And she came back. She said, do you really think I've been the drudge of this physical earth? Because why would I want to be down here? I'm experiencing universities and higher ways of learning and understanding. Why would I want to waste my time back here? That's what she said. So
Oh my gosh.
there is a sense of something of responsibility, if you
Yeah.
will. Service is always there. Service of souls.
Right.
Service. A lot of spirits will not all of some will go back to helping people pass over. This is interesting. Many people have died of an overdose, for instance.
Right.
Sometimes they'll come back and they'll help other people who pass the same way because that soul has the experience of how they passed and what that
Right.
needs, a new arrival, what they
Right.
need. That happens quite a lot.
Right. It sure does.
Nothing's
Wow.
ever wasted, everybody. Nothing is ever wasted. No experience
Nope.
ever wasted. It's
Oh
true.
my God. So James has joined James Friday night for a VIP evening of spirit messages this Friday, July 15th at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So if
Yes.
you haven't been to one, you should definitely sign up. It's
Try it.
extraordinary.
Be great. Yeah.
It'll be great. Oh my gosh. And if you get a chance, and then we've got Mediumship
I love
Level
leadership.
1 on July 13th, which is going to be extraordinary,
Yes.
especially that day, James. What a powerful day. What a powerful
I've
time.
already
Oh my,
started preparing for it. So
oh my God. And if you get a chance, join me and Prajna Avalon on July 23rd.
that's
And we are doing our second part 2, actually, for Lemuria and Atlantis. And if you are interested, if you felt like you had this calling about Lemuria or Atlantis or the old civilizations, please join us. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to be talking about what life was like during that period of time and the gifts that everybody has from that period of time and the
Kelly,
wisdom.
I
Mhm.
think I mentioned to you this past weekend when I was driving to see the puppies, I passed the Lemurian the
I couldn't believe when you called me, you said, "You're never going to believe where I am."
Lemurian Fellowship. Yeah.
I mean, that's just so amazing. Thank you for that. I
Here.
think
We're
that's
everywhere.
going to be great. So please join us for part 2 on July 23rd if you get a chance. And next week we have a really interesting guest.
Yes, we have Anne Vanderwater, and Anne is a lady that I met at a retreat that I went to, and it just showed you a spirit. Well, I'll go into next week how people come into our lives, and she didn't know me, I didn't know her, but we connected right away as soon as she walked into the room, and she's a wonderful healer and different levels of healing, sound healing, and just true mastery of the human design. And she did a discernment with me, I guess you'd say, and it was right on. And so she's going to join us next week for about the human design and tapping into the mastery of the human experience.
It's going to be fascinating. Maybe she'll do some sound healing work too.
She'll do whatever we want, I think. I think she's so great and giving. And she did. I did on Facebook Live. I did a sound healing.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was amazing. So maybe we can get her to do some crystal bowl healing.
That would be great. Well, gosh, everybody, have a great week. Have a super week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks, everyone.
You've been listening to Both Sides Now and Beyond, featuring spiritual medium and master teacher James Van Praagh and spiritual medium and psychotherapist Kelly White.
That was great. Maybe we changed some lives.
And maybe opened up some minds.
Which way do I turn?
Right. I mean left.
The James and Kelly Show.